Welcome to the weekly Woodcast with Dennis and Michael Woodworth, and we have a special guest in studio this evening who has an incredible story and an incredible journey to share with everyone on the podcast this week. Candice Ernst from Nova Scotia, Canada. Actually, the little town of Bridgewater in Nova Scotia, Canada. Welcome to the podcast, Candice.
Thanks so much for having me, Dennis. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, well, we're excited to have you because I was telling you early before the podcast about how many of us in our town we used to go to basketball games at Bridgewater Junior Senior High School back in the mid 80s. How old were you in 87?
I would have been like 4.
4 years old. And this little girl and her older brother, which how far apart are you and Corey?
Couple years old.
Couple years.
Yeah.
Dribbling these little mini basketballs at halftime.
Yeah.
And we're lifting you up so you could shoot. But eventually, you guys actually shot from the floor.
Yeah.
To shoot hoops. I remember that, and I'm sure everyone listening to this podcast that was from our town that watched those basketball games will remember those two little kids that were raised by the Ernst family up there by the exhibition grounds. And but you've had an incredible story. I coached you in baseball years later, and you were one of our best athletes of all time in our community. You were one of the only females to play on an all-male baseball team for quite a few years. I remember your first home run in Cole Harbor.
Yes,
When you hit your first home run, I still remember that. And then, but really, as good a baseball player as you really were a solid hockey player.
Yeah.
Tell us about some of your journey when playing hockey.
Yeah, so hockey has been a big part of my life ever since I was 4 years old. I, started in the figure skates, and I watched, Big Brother, and I said, I do not want to wear these figure skates anymore,
No
and
kidding.
I want to be a hockey player just like my big brother Corey. And so Mom and Dad always encouraged me to do what I wanted to do. So they bought me a pair of hockey skates, and I went out with the boys. There were no other females that played at the time.
Not at the time.
And even for a long time after. So it was interesting, the experiences that I then gained through women's hockey,
Right.
even though I only had the opportunity to play boys hockey locally. I went on to play Canada Games in 1999 for Team Nova Scotia. And from there, got recruited. I used to go to Andrews Hockey School over in PEI every summer. That was the highlight of the summer. So when we went over to PEI, Andrews Hockey School, I ended up meeting up with some scouts from prep schools down in the States. So I ended up going to a prep school, and I played hockey, soccer, and softball there. Great experience, met some wonderful people. And then ended up making the varsity team at St. FX. So I've had lots of great experiences, wonderful people I've met along my journey. And when my 5th year was over at St. FX, I kind of hung up the skates, and that was it.
So you grew up in an active family. You were always involved in sports. I remember actually watching your father play softball years and years ago. So you were always active. You're active during your school years, and then you finish school, and then what?
Yeah, so once I finished university, there's really not a whole lot for females, especially females, after university hockey in Nova Scotia. So I ended up moving out west, and the working life kind of took over. So I was working 2 jobs, and just kind of got caught up in different. I guess at the time it was a priority. Looking back, my health should always be the first priority in my life. But at the time, my work was a priority, and trying to save up some money and things like that. And life just it changed. Things that I used to do when I was an athlete. We used to eat whatever we wanted.
Absolutely.
We used to, lay around on the couch when we didn't, when we weren't playing hockey or practicing. And you kind of get away with that stuff because you were always so active. But when I started, when I moved out west, started working a lot, my eating habits, they stayed the same, if not got worse.
But your activity got less.
But my activity
Dramatically
got
less.
Yeah. So within about a year, I had put on about 100 pounds.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Well, it's amazing because the fuel you put in your body enables you to operate. Our human bodies are so complex.
Yeah.
And I've learned, a different journey, but I've learned a lot of the same things you've learned. And it's amazing how little we knew as young people about nutrition. We were talking earlier in one of the podcasts a week ago or whatever the case may be about the food pyramid.
Yeah.
And it's so dramatic. It's not even accurate,
Yeah.
really, in most cases. And so once you figure that out, things start to change. So you're what, 5'2", 2, maybe 5'3" if you stretched you a little bit.
Yeah.
What was your heaviest weight?
My absolute heaviest was 295, and when I tried to lose weight for years,
Right.
just little fad diets that don't work. But when I started my official journey, I was 280.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of weight.
And those listening to this podcast, I mean, it's important to understand that the decision's the most important thing. Once you decide, okay, that's enough.
Yep.
I'm not going back.
Yep.
There is no other way. I only go forward.
Yep.
Then what's next after that? What did you do?
Yeah. So when I knew I had to do something, little things were getting hard for me, tying my shoes, walking
stairs.
Just not even stairs,
Yeah.
just going for a walk, getting off the couch was like, a job. I wanted to stay in bed all the time. I mean, I really didn't have a whole lot of motivation. I didn't like myself. I didn't like what I seen in the mirror. I didn't like, just how I was feeling. So all those things together, I knew I had to make a change. The thing was I decided myself, and I was doing it for me. I wasn't doing it for
Right.
anybody else. I wasn't doing it for my parents or my family or anybody. I was doing it for me. I knew how good I felt when I felt good, and feeling the way that I was at my heaviest weight, I was basically miserable. So I decided. I actually spoke to a local girl about Kelly Cook had at the time had a nutrition plan, and she said, like, you should give it a try. You eat all whole foods.
Right.
All real foods.
I remember.
So I was, again, skeptical because I've tried everything. I've tried shakes. I've tried all that stuff, and it never worked. So anyways, I gave it a shot, and I just, this time, like, as opposed to any other time, it was my time.
All in.
I was done. I was all in.
All
I
in.
said to friends, family, like, I will not, be going out to eat. I used to go to, if my family, if we were on a little trip to the city and they were going to Subway, I used to bring my own little food. I'd have it in a container, and that's who I was. I had to do that for, 10 months. I had to be like, no parties, no.
Well, you're cleansing yourself. You really, and you're reprogramming your mind.
And I
your
knew,
brain,
and
right?
I knew at that time that I had to do this.
Yeah,
there was
commitment.
it was a must. So I told them, told everybody, I said, this is what's, please, like, I'll come to things. Don't be upset if I don't eat the food you make, or if I don't have hot dogs on the barbecue or whatever, right? I'm doing this for me, and I need to do it my own way.
And they can still eat what they want to eat, and don't feel pressured
Absolutely.
that they have to do what you did. I love what you just
Absolutely.
said. There's a difference between you should do something or you must do something. Should is just an idea. Somebody, you should do this or you should do that.
Yep.
When you say I must do it, there's conviction.
Yep.
And I saw it every step of the way. I followed you every step of the way,
Yeah.
and was so proud to see that transformation. Tell people who may be struggling with this themselves, like you were, how did you feel when you made those changes in regards to just how you felt in the day?
Right.
Your energy level started to change, the way you thought, the way you smiled, all those things. How did they change?
Yeah, so I mean, when you start, everything's hard, right? It felt
Should be difficult.
hard. I woke up every day kind of thinking, can I do this? Like, yeah, this is my time. I have to, I have to do this. But then you always have that little bit of doubt. But once I started seeing some results, within a week, I think like my first week, I lost 14 pounds.
You would.
And I mean, I was eating
Water
a lot
weight.
of food,
Lot
a
of
lot
water
of
weight.
a lot of vegetables. But anyways, and that felt good, right? I mean, I was excited, and it kind of it kept me going. I started my journey like kind of posting on Facebook and keeping myself accountable, and a lot of people from the community commenting and pumping me up to keep going. You start seeing changes, I think, a little bit before other people. Like my pants were getting a little bit looser, and all those kind of little things that start adding up, that you start to feel proud about yourself, and you start saying, okay, this is no longer, this is going to be my life. This is a lifestyle. It's not something that is
that's not a diet.
Right. It's not a 3-month
We've
thing.
eliminated that word diet.
Yeah. This is a lifestyle for me. And there was just, it felt good. It felt so good to just start putting those right things back in my body. Drinking water. Like, you take that for granted, but it's such a big part of it, being hydrated. And I didn't get sick. And I look back on some of my Facebook memories, and when I was heavy, I was constantly like, sick with the flu, or, I sore throat again. It was like I was constantly sick. And I just started, I wasn't getting sick anymore. I was just feeling good. And I always like to give myself a little challenge. So probably every like couple weeks I would come up with something that I wanted to do that I wasn't sure if I could do, but I wanted to try. So that was motivating for me. So, for an example, I called Dad one day and I said, Dad, this was like probably 3 or 4 months into my journey. And I said, I'm going to run to your house. And so I used to live about 9.5 kilometers in Auburndale. He said, run, like in your car? Like, are you just running to the house to get something? And I was like, no, like I'm going to run with my 2 feet. And he's like, okay.
Are you
like,
crazy?
You're taking your phone, right? And I was like, yeah, I'll have my phone.
Sounds like Cedric.
Yeah, I had zero idea if I could do it. And I put my mind to it, and took off that day. I barely have ever ran outside. I was more of a treadmill girl, and I made it all the way to Mom and Dad's. Never stopped once. I'm not a fast runner. Don't have to be.
You don't need to be.
And so I made it all. So all those little challenges that you kind of set for yourself, they don't have to be exercise related, but all those little things that you do kind of.
Well, you push through the wall.
Yeah.
You're always pushing the wall, and you're telling yourself, I can and I will.
Yeah.
A good friend of mine and a friend of his was in Holguin, Cuba. I don't know how long ago it was, and we were walking the stairs, and there's a staircase that in Holguin that 400 and some stairs.
Oh wow, yeah.
It's huge, and I walked it, and they went ahead of me, and then I started to walk from behind them, and when I passed them, they could hear me saying, "I can and I will."
Yeah. I
can and I will. That conviction in your mind, that mindset, allows you to push through the wall where it tells you to quit.
Definitely. It's
many
so
times
much
I'm
mental.
sure you've heard your mind say, "Stop now, Candice."
Definitely.
And then you say, no, you're not tricking me.
Exactly.
Yeah. I've watched all those posts, and I'm going for a run today, and it started out as a slow jog or a walk, and now you're running an incredible amount of distance. I mean,
I did a marathon.
Yeah,
by myself.
you're challenging yourself with so many different things. Like you're not just going to the gym every day.
Right.
Some people they go to the gym every day and they experience that. You go through. You're playing pickleball now.
Yep, I love pickleball.
You're doing little things every day that challenges you.
Yeah,
which
and
I think is cool.
I tell everybody. Like they say, how did you get started running? Like, I don't like running. And I say, you don't have to run. It's so important to find something you love.
Exactly. Because you'll stay with it then.
And you do that thing that you love as much as you can, right? It just happened to be I actually started to enjoy running once I started, right? It was very slow and very painful when I first began, but like I have a love for running now. But not everybody has to run, right? You can go out, walk your dog, or whatever it is. You have to love what you're doing to keep doing it, right?
It's the only way stay committed to it.
Exactly.
Or it's just going to be a phase.
Yeah.
And you revert back to old habits.
Yep.
That's what you said earlier, lifestyle.
Yeah.
So I see you regularly in the gymnasium at 92 Athletics, and we had Joe Holland, the owner and operator of the, I wouldn't even call it a gym. It's not even a gym. It's a place where people congregate to become athletes.
Yeah. It's like a
Really.
community. It's a community, really.
And you're heavily involved with, a sport that's in there. Why don't you explain to people what you're doing?
Yeah. So basically, I like, I go to CrossFit.
Yeah, CrossFit.
902 Athletics, and I absolutely love it. It's every day. You just have to show up and work hard. Everybody kind of thinks this misconception that you have to be super fit or an athlete or whatever to do CrossFit, and you don't. There's people of all walks of life in there, older people, younger people. There's 12-year-olds and it's just males, females, people who may be a little overweight, people who are in super shape. There's just people of all different aspects of life, and we all come together with that one goal: is we're there to be better people, improve ourselves, our physical condition. It's just such an it's an inspiring place to me, where I could be working out beside somebody who might be going through something really bad in their life.
Exactly.
And they're coming to the gym and they're working hard. I'm going to work hard right beside, you get in that little mentality that you just show up. Everything's planned for you. The workout is, the programming, all that stuff is there. You just have to come and work. And I love that. And every day that I go there, it's such a mental, you're like, wow, this is going to be hard. And it is. It's always hard, but you get through it. And when you're done your workout, you're like, I did that. I leave every day feeling really good.
I love watching your videos, which we'll post some of them on the podcast of the kind of challenges you present to yourself, whether it's the lifting part, deadlifts and things like that. I know that sometimes people feel like I could never do that. I remember when I couldn't do one diamond push-up, February 5th, 2010, the first time I did an hour training session with just a different program, but I couldn't do one diamond push-up.
Yeah.
And Michael used to give me grief about it, constantly that night. And then I said to him, when I'm done, I'll give you way more than one.
Yeah.
And I reached that goal. And I think sometimes people think they can't accomplish it, so that's why they don't start.
Yeah,
so what do you have to say to someone that says, Candice, I can't do that.
Right.
I could never do what you did. What do you say to someone like that?
And I think a lot of times those people don't see the struggle, right?
Yeah.
Because, a lot of times when you're following people on, whether it be Instagram or whatever it is, and you're following these influencers, a lot of times you don't see the failures, and you don't see that I couldn't do one pull-up when I started CrossFit. Couldn't even dream about doing a pull-up. And now, I can string about 5 together. And so nobody's seen that struggle.
Exactly.
Right? But I always say to people, especially when they start CrossFit, because you get a lot of people coming in like, well, how are you deadlifting 300 pounds? And I will never do, it's like, when I started, I was deadlifting, 50, 75 pounds. I wasn't deadlifting this when I started, right? It took 2 to 3
they see
years.
the image, they see and you're not 6'3",
yeah,
some cyborg,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
You're an athlete,
yeah,
but they don't see the pictures of you
right,
at 280,
right,
Yeah. And they're like, if they could see the pictures of you at 280 and say, could you imagine how much I struggled at that weight in my life?
Exactly. And that's what I always tell people at the gym. I'm like, don't ever feel frustrated, because I was exactly where you are right now. I was only lifting the bar over my head. I was only doing these things. And as you keep going, you get stronger, right? With everything. As you continue eating healthy, it becomes second nature. It's what you love. It's
Right.
what you crave almost, right? So you have to you have to push through that. I always call it the little bit of suck, because it does. It kind of sucks when you start, right?
You got that
You're
right.
sore all the time, and
Amen.
you know, you eat about 20 bags of spinach in 1 month, and it's not the world's funnest thing.
And you've fallen off the wagon too. I mean,
Yeah.
we all, for a night or even a week sometimes, I think some people put way too much pressure on themselves to, I can't take that one day or that 1 week, or I'm just gonna fail. There's too much pressure you put on yourself sometimes, right?
Absolutely. I always tell people, it's like, you have a bad day, you have a bad week, as long as you don't quit. You never quit.
Never give up.
I find this part of my journey is just as hard as losing the weight, because now it's like I'm trying to find that balance of, I want to be able to do these things with my friends or go out to eat at
I've seen some of your
the
posts.
pub, right?
Exactly.
Like, I want to do those things, but yet I don't want it. I always have that 280 Candice in my head. Like, I don't want that to snowball into that. And so it's always that fear in my head, because I know just where I was mentally in that place at 280. I just don't want to go back there. So that's what I'm working on now. It's a balance now, where I need to find, I don't want to cut all those things out of my life, because I enjoy those things. But yet I also have to carry on and continue doing what I love: running, CrossFit, pickleball, eating healthy. So it's okay to have a meal or a night that you go out and you have wings with your friends. That's okay, right? But you have to get back on the train.
I think some people that say that you can't do that, they just lie to themselves.
Oh yeah.
It's just, to be that disciplined means you have to be a super athlete, and I don't think the majority of people on our planet ever aspire to be a super athlete.
Right.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like, if you're Usain Bolt, and you ask Usain Bolt, he'll tell you, I've had a hamburger, I've had French fries, So we sometimes think that if we make that decision, and I know when I was so anal about everything I did, I put way too much pressure on myself.
Definitely.
And I think because we're so competitive as athletes that you want to do that, but then you have to say to you, why am I doing this?
Exactly.
Like, I'm going to get older every decade. What do I want to accomplish from this?
Exactly.
And do I want to lose cultural experiences or friends in an evening, and I just shut it down?
Right.
And lose those experiences because I don't want to just eat something or whatever the case may be. I don't know. I just don't know if it's worth it at that level.
Exactly.
For the regular Joe that works or that owns a company or owns a business, I just don't think.
Yeah, and I knew, like, when I started my journey, I knew I had to do that, right? I had to be perfect until I reached my goal. And then once I reached my goal, I was like, okay, so I've reached my goal. Now, how can I maintain, start doing things that, with friends, that maybe I want to go to the barbecue and have a hot dog. That's okay. So that was more tough for me than.
It's a big hurdle.
Yeah, it is. And it's scary, right? When you work so hard and you put in all the work. So I always say, like, even, you have a bad day. So what? Tomorrow, drink lots of water and eat some veggies. Like, there's just don't quit. Like, never quit.
Talk about ketchup. Talk about ketchup. I see ketchup all the time on Facebook.
Yes. So I have a little scooter, a little moped. It's a 155cc. So it flies, and I like to call it ketchup. Because I always say, like, you have to catch up to me, and I love ketchup. So I love it. My cousin actually, she got a little red scooter as well. So we each have a red scooter, and she named hers Sriracha. So we. Now,
is ketchup female or male? I assume she's a female, but she could be a male,
about it.
Right? Well, an automobile isn't a male or female. I mean, you don't have to have a male or female automobile.
I don't know.
Some people,
I'm not sure. I don't think of that. Yeah, gender neutral. There we go.
Gender neutral.
Yeah, so we go buzzing around, and we just drive locally and just go, just relax and park somewhere and enjoy the scene, And it's just nice to have something other than sports and the gym, because that's a lot of what I find enjoyment out of now, and it's a big part of who I am. But I still need to find those other things, like if I like to do puzzles, right? Like, so there's other things I like, and you got to make sure that you're doing those things as well.
Does it? I know from practical experience myself, but I want to hear from you, from your perspective of when you have that type of lifestyle that you live, you seem to have a different circle of friends or acquaintances in your life, because you want to surround yourself with those people that are conducive to the lifestyle that you want to live.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, just thinking, I've had a big change in life in general, right? Like things that I was okay with before, I was no longer okay with. I didn't want that in my life anymore. So, I didn't really want to be around a lot of, parties where people were smoking cigarettes and all that kind of stuff that I was okay with before. It didn't bother me when I was big. I just wanted to be out having a laugh with friends, and I tolerated it. Yeah, exactly.
100%.
So those things definitely changed. Sometimes when you don't want to go out to eat all the time, some of your friends that's what they want to do, things change, right? And so now, I mean, a lot of my good friends that I talk to a lot are pickleball friends, or friends that I have at the gym. So my circle has definitely changed, and a lot of times we want to go do like a hike or something instead of, maybe going down and having a pizza or something.
Right.
We want to do things that we enjoy, or, going for a walk on the beach, or just, it doesn't have to be such hardcore activity, but it's something active, right? Like it's just nice. It's a nice change.
So what's next? I mean, you're teaching right now, and I know you're excited about that.
Love it. Yeah. So, which is another thing, I'm very happy to have lost that weight. I feel like I'm not sure I could be running around with 19 primary students at 280.
Kidding.
So I definitely noticed that in my job. I have a lot of energy for them, and they have a lot of energy for me too. So It works out great.
No question.
But what's next for me is I truly just want to continue living a healthy life. I want to continue doing the things I love. I want to travel and play pickleball with my partners, and I want to actually, I am running a marathon July 2021 because it got canceled there in 2020 due to COVID. So I have a marathon that I have to train for starting in February. So that'll be exciting.
You're going to record some of that?
Yeah, I will.
Record some of
I
that.
will definitely record my journey. I did last time. It'll be, I think, a little more fun this time, knowing that I'm not running it by myself. And so the marathon, that'll be a big accomplishment for me this year coming. And I really, truly just want to be able to keep doing the things that I love.
Now, you mentioned Kelly Cook.
Mm-hmm.
We should, there's people that are going to listen to the podcast that should reach out. If they're looking for some coaching when it comes to nutrition, obviously you would want to recommend Kelly.
Yeah, I'm not sure if she's doing her plans at the moment, but I know she's busy with her work and things like that. But if she is...
Well, and also 902, they have even meals in the facility now.
Yeah, they have meals to go. So they have everything with the calorie count, carbs, protein, all the macros, right on the container for everybody. Everything's homemade. So you can drop in and purchase a meal, or you can, order them for the week if you're going to have a busy week. It's a really nice service, and the food, it looks amazing. I've yet to try anything, but I certainly will. But yeah, I mean, it's been amazing, because a lot of people think you have to cut things out in order to lose the weight. And when I, joined with Kelly, I literally ate everything. I ate carbs, I ate protein, I ate fruits, I ate vegetables. Like, it was a very sustainable, very enjoyable experience, I guess is how to put it. There was nothing that felt like I was missing.
And I know there's a lot of lifestyle changes in different kind of diets. Ketogenic diet's a big one that's been prevalent in society today.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a one size fits all solution.
Yep.
I think you make a decision. I think you commit to that decision, and then you stay focused on your result. Whatever you decide, as long as it's scientific, that it makes sense,
Right.
and that it's healthy for you, and then you have people around you that can coach you or support you along the way, that will ensure your success. There is no one way.
Absolutely.
There's just your right way.
And I think too, it's educating yourself. Like, you always have the buzzwords with everything, fitness and education and all those things. There's the buzzwords. So, if you just, I'm not saying keto is bad or, low carb is bad. I don't know. I just know what worked for me.
Well, you don't use it, so how could you relate to it, right?
Exactly. And I've never educated myself on that because I didn't have to.
Right.
What I was doing was working for me.
Exactly.
So I think too, like a lot of people, they see keto they're watching a video and it's total buzzword. And
it's a buzzword.
And I think there's a great way to do keto, and then there's a maybe not so healthy way to do keto, and that gets lost, right? Like,
well, for me too, I worked in a part of my life where a ketogenic diet did help.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel I would do it the rest of my life.
Right.
So there's a way to shock your body.
Yeah.
Right. And say the body likes to be shocked, because then it starts to steal from resources in your body. Sometimes, and as an athlete, if you run a marathon, you run the same distance every time, you hit a plateau.
Yeah.
And then you have to have slight changes in that routine or program so that your body grows and forces you to grow more. That's really what it's all about.
Absolutely.
Confusing your body.
Yeah.
I learned it from a guy named Tony Horton that was involved with Beachbody.com. And I want to give Tony a lot of props for me personally, that he helped me start on that journey. Absolutely. And something fits for everyone. The one thing I will say is that it's nice to also have somebody local or a community that's local to be able to gain your confidence and associate with those individuals on a daily basis. It's hard sometimes to have the discipline to get up on the horse every day.
Yep.
When you're alone.
Yep.
Sometimes you need that person or group to make you accountable. Because sometimes it's tough. I mean, it's tough. I remember.
And I know, like right now, living with my parents, they're on board, and so it just makes it easy for me.
Well, you say your dad's lost a lot of weight.
Dad's lost a lot of weight.
And your dad was a great athlete back in the day.
Yeah, since quarantine. So very proud of him, and he's putting in the work. He made the decision. He wanted to do that for his health. And it just makes it easy when everybody around you is kind of on board, and you can make some ground turkey and nobody complains.
No kidding.
Ground turkey and rice and some veggies, right? So we're very lucky that we're all on board at home. It definitely makes everything easy. So.
Well, we're all proud of you.
Thanks.
And some of the guys that I follow online, I'm sure you're aware of in your social media context, a guy like Thomas DeLauer, Dr. Eric Berg, people that I follow online, because I always try to get nuggets from everybody.
Yeah.
But when you see somebody locally that's literally transformed, I love when you do the before and afters online, where you can say, this is what I used to be. And it's a reminder, constant reminder for you all the time to stay focused. And I know our community is proud of you. I still remember that little 4-year-old girl dribbling that basketball. I remember that young lady, 13 years old, hitting a home run in Cole Harbor. I remember you playing college hockey and being so proud of you representing our community. And you deserve this time in your life.
Thanks.
You really do.
Thanks.
Some people, we talked about it earlier in one of the podcasts that John Swain and Nick Saunders were here, is that life's a journey up a mountain, and sometimes you go up that mountain and you get to the top.
Yeah. What's
next? Just another mountain.
Yeah, that's right.
So you've gone up that mountain, and I'm so proud of you, and I'm just excited about seeing the next chapter.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
And there will always be a next for me because it's who I am, and I maybe lost that for a few years, when I stopped playing hockey. But it's you always said you're back, and
You found yourself.
and I'm back, and I love who I am now.
You found yourself again.
I love what my body can do. I'm not worried about the scale as much anymore. I just love what my body can do now. It's
two people in my life that I type uppercase letters every time when you make a post. And I write beast mode. And the only other person I write that same message to is Jenna Martin.
That's awesome.
So that tells you something.
Yeah.
It's a mental approach. It's a mental toughness. The mental part is actually a lot tougher than the physical one. The body can endure an enormous amount of pain and pressure.
Yeah.
If you look at men and women in the military, what they go through, our bodies can take it. It's the mental part.
Absolutely.
Are you tough enough to handle it?
Yeah.
And Candice Ernst, you're tough enough.
Yeah. I'm happy. I found that mental toughness for sure.
Well, we're going to stay in touch with you. We're going to see what that next chapter brings.
Yeah.
And then over time, we'll bring you back in the studio so you can tell some of the people that admire you, and hopefully some of the people, globally, not just here in our community. And it's one of the reasons why I wanted you in the studio is that there's going to be people in different countries and different places that are going to be struggling. And maybe your story can inspire them to be the next Candice Ernst, or that can say, I heard this podcast one time of a young lady from Nova Scotia, Canada, and that podcast was the one that inspired me to start my journey. And that's what I'm hopeful.
And I'm always like, if anybody ever needs to chat, or I love talking this stuff. So I have knowledge just from my own experiences that I'm more than willing to share.
So they can reach out on Facebook or whatever the case may be.
Absolutely.
So if you, Candice Ernst, if you look at Candice on Facebook and she's from Bridgewater, Nova Scotia, Canada. And if you're interested in actually speaking with her, just send her an invitation to talk, and I'm sure she'll represent the community at a very high level. We've had Candice Ernst here at the weekly Woodcast, and we're very pleased in her progress and very proud of her from this little town of Bridgewater, Nova Scotia, Canada. Weekly Woodcast, signing out. Take care. We'll talk to you again.